I did have a discussion or two with the city manager on the budget, so a lot of my questions have already been I've addressed with him, but I had one little question here about sales tax. I noticed in the financial statement that there was a negative number year-to-date of $7,800, but the revised budget shows an increase, expected increase of about $20K in sales tax to, well, I should only in quotes, talking about $110,000. Where do you anticipate this, the catch-up occurring?
Right, the 7,800 is a negative, and item number 10 is because that was really a reversal of an accrual from fiscal year 2011. And that's why it's showing negative. And one of the things I was debating whether to take it out and eliminate that negative, but because we are doing a prior year comparison, so prior year's number have a negative too, so I leave it in there for comparison purpose. But as far as what sales tax we are projecting, if the economy continues to be on better track, and look at this year's fiscal year 2011's actual, we established projection that we should be able to get close to 110,000. So again, that 7,800 is just June sales tax received in July, but actually belong to last fiscal year. And the sales tax payment from the state of California is always in arrears, so we currently have not received information on what July's advance payment will be. So that's the timing difference.
Switching to the park, I observed that the amount of revenues expected from social fees and meeting fees and so forth has been significantly reduced. Why is that?
Because I was told that the library and the park is only have booking for the end of this year to December. Currently no direction, and that's one thing that I think the city manager will be asking council to make a decision on the future of the park programs, whether we should continue to accept booking for next calendar year. And this is also taking into the effect that we have a transition from our long-time employee that retired. So we are showing a little bit marketing issue there, because a lot of times people know her to do the booking. So this is just a conservative number to make sure that we can meet the goal.
I was kind of interested in how you're handling the third party that's handling as I understand, there's a third party, I think John explained this to me the other day, that's handling some of the events, and the question as to whether the event holder would be paying the third party or be paying the town. I noticed that you have a $40,000 charge back in the park statement, and it indicates it's being paid to the person, third-party person that's managing the event. And so I'm a little confused here. With this big reduction in revenues, this means that the gross amount of the event is in the revenue number then. And so you've subtracted out 40,000 more later on to pay that party that's actually making the arrangements and so forth. The 50-50 cost sharing, I think. Anyway, I'm troubled by this big drop here. I think this is a council policy area that we need to address, and the fact that we just unilaterally cut things off for next year without addressing it, I think is raise a big question mark in my mind. It may be the right conclusion, but we should have that discussion as a council and concur with it. One of the things I did is I looked at the general fund balances and said, okay, how many months of operating expenses could the general fund pay for if we didn't get any more revenues? It's just an indicator. Back in 07, 08, we had about 9 months of operations that we could pay for in a general fund, and it dropped to 8.5, 7.3, 6.8, and now it's down to about 6.42 months. And just another indication that we've been living
Beyond the means.
yeah, we're living out of our general fund revenues, and we need to stabilize that. We need to make sure that we really get things into balance in the future on that. I'd like to commend the city attorney and city manager's offices for some nice reductions from prior years in expenses. I think there's some very significant trends and savings in those areas, and I think we ought to acknowledge that. One thing I didn't understand on page 56, it's a little thing, but maybe it's indicative of something else. On page 56, we show regular salaries of $74,000. And we show health insurance of $25,000 and unemployment insurance of $20,000. And that, except $25,000 is for active employees, it doesn't take into account retired employees. Can you help me through that? We have $74,000 in salaries. And we have health insurance for active employees of $25,000. And we have another $20,000 of unemployment insurance, which, don't these things kind of supposed to relate to the salary number in some
Yeah.
fashion?
My apology, I just looked at the numbers and I realized I have, on page 65,
55?
65,
65.
the public works superintendent, actually his hours, his benefits should have been prorated, and the 18,000 show up for in more than one places, so I need to do the allocation on that one. The formula didn't come across on that, so I need to fix that.
Okay.
Okay, we'll catch it.
You finished, Jimmy?
Let me just take a quick look here. Sorry, I lost my place for a minute. I think I've covered what I'm going to cover. Thank you.
What's it, brother?
So, many of the comments that I had about the reduction of the park revenue was one of the things I was concerned about, because I don't recall that it ever came before council to make that decision to stop booking any events, potential revenue from the park. So if that was just a unilateral decision made by city manager, I think that that's something that should have come before council, and I would like to have that discussed. And I know that we've had a transition with our event coordinator, but that has been going on since kind of like the beginning of the year. I mean, we should have that solved by now. So I'm in distress about our environmental programs committee budget being slashed and burned with all the other things that I think that the environmental programs committee has done a good service to the town, and has leveraged that budget significantly, and to have it reduced to only $5,000, even though they're running a deficit. I think it's very short-sighted. And I would like to recommend that we reinstate it to the $29,000 that had been in previous years.
Any other comments? Public comments?
This is maybe a question, and obviously I'm not versed with every detail of the budget, but I guess one of the things that I was looking at here, where it says, on the main overview page, where it says salaries and wages, that we've reduced those down $1,089,000, so down 23%. And if you add in some of the medical actors and so on, you got some decreases of $10. But then when you do look at the contract numbers, you're actually going up $1.2 million. And I guess what I'm trying to understand is where do we get the payback from taking out and laying everyone off versus bringing in all the contracts? Because I worked for years in consulting and worked with large contracts and so on, and usually the first year it's one number, but that number tends to go up, and you know, it's always a strategy in businesses, you get in, you get established and so on. I worry about whether or not, I guess I don't quite get where do we get the savings, because we do have to still pay out the additional, you know, benefits and so on over a period of time. So that's just a concern I have, and I'm not making a judgment about it, I'm just concerned how we're gonna keep moving in the right direction. Thank you.
I would just say a very short answer is health benefits and pensions.
Okay, so that's really the main savings then, is what we're seeing.
And I would add that this is not a full year budget, so we don't actually see total year savings yet. And unfortunately, there's still transitional costs, particularly in building, that fees were collected, but work still has to be done. So this is our adjustment year. And in subsequent years is when the savings will really begin to come
Are there any other public comments?
But it was a surprise to find out the extent of unemployment insurance, that we were self-insured with regards to having to pay that fee for now at least 18, if not longer, number of months per employee that hasn't found a new job.
Yeah, well, we hope the employees find new jobs.
Denise Copeland, 74 Atherton Avenue. I've been trying to look on the town website to look at the RFPs and that kind of thing, and I'd really like to understand the outside contractors that will be providing the park maintenance and street cleaning services and all the other things. Are they required to provide some sort of level of medical benefits to their employees? Is that stipulated in our contract? It's not clear to me as a resident paying taxes that will be provided. It is a concern. And somebody involved in hospitals, I would like to know. And if I could get a clear answer, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, I don't know about street sweeping. It was in existence before I came here, but I know that actually some of our existing employees have gone over to working for some of the contractors, and the large ones all have medical insurance.
Okay. Is that a requirement?
It was not a requirement of the contract.
Thank you for the answer.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, could I ask Bill to maybe expand on a comment you made about employment insurance? You made a comment, it's something I'm not aware of in terms of the self-insured in 18 months and
Yeah,
that type of thing.
in there was there's unemployment insurance that's here on the budget, on your number 40, I think it is, to the tune of $221,916. And of course, that covers from the time that the people were laid off to the time they get a new job, or 18 months down the road under the current administration, Obama administration laws. And that's currently being considered to be expanded. So that would be an ongoing, if they don't get another job, then that's a continued liability that will be the responsibility of the town to pay.
It's because we have not been paying into unemployment insurance. We're self-insured.
We're self-insured on
Right.
that,
And most businesses
are part of the state.
are part of the state unemployment insurance
Is
agency.
that typically a good deal to be self-insured on insurance?
Yeah, I think it's a policy decision that you make. It depends on the stability of the organization. We're obviously in very strange economic times, and we did anticipate that there might be these bumps, particularly in difficulties in getting jobs. However, we also offered incentive pay where people would take one-time lump sum payments and not go on to unemployment insurance. So I'm not certain. Louise, do you know how many people actually would be eligible for unemployment at this point?
I would say originally the plan is to lay off the 10 people, and we have maybe 2 or 3 retirements. and then we have one individual that actually find a job. But the other resigned and have taken the incentive pay. At this point, we are still waiting because we know at least 2 individuals that took the incentive pay and went ahead and filed for unemployment. So
My experience is that if you give them an incentive pay, that doesn't preclude them from filing for unemployment insurance. And in fact, they
It's already
do
been-
get it.
It's already been turned down.
I think it can be appealed.
But just a quick answer, how many took incentive pay?
Top of my head, I was maybe 5 to 7, at least maybe
So
7.
there's maybe 5 people that could apply for unemployment presumably? Okay.
So, city clerk says all but 3
All but 3 would be, that would take
that took the incentive.
unemployment, okay.
So is this a maximum number then that we're looking at here? So,
Well,
Well, if there's,
if it's only 3, yes, I question whether or not that's gonna come to fruition.
Yeah,
If it doesn't come to fruition,
that'd be good.
then this is only for, this is a cash basis
Mhm.
account, so next year there'll be unemployment insurance capability if they haven't found a job when we do the next fiscal year.
thank you.
Are there any future agenda items?
Well, we have
What
to
are we
move
doing
this,
about
we
this?
have to vote on it. So
On what?
on the budget,
Oh, okay.
I'd like to move that we approve the budget, but hold off the special request for the capital items until such time that the chief brings them forward. I don't know if anybody wants to second that.
I'll second
You asked the maker of the motion, why the qualification about capital items?
Well, there were extra capital items that were put in here at the end, 2 new police cars and a couple motorcycles that we're in the process of trying to hire people at this point in time, and when we've got the people on board and we're gonna use those, then we can replace them. And I think that there are some discussions that we brought up, and the chief adequately addressed them at the finance committee, as to why do we need to buy a new car or buy a new motorcycle, can't we refurbish it, that perhaps the whole council should weigh in on. And so, as opposed to giving carte blanche sight unseen, yeah, I recommend we bring those up and address those at a future agenda item.
What was the, can I ask what the finance committee thought about that item?
At the finance committee, you know, we looked over the budget, we asked a lot of questions, we had each of the, well, John and Louise took us through every department except for the chief walked us through his department. There were some discussions about the timing of the hiring and things like that based on other finance committee discussions. And we never really voted on the budget, we just got it reviewed, and the meeting overran and kind of terminated. And there was some subsequent discussions with some of us who stayed around late, but some people's schedule didn't permit, and so there was never really a vote on the budget.
Well, we can bring those 3 or 4 items up, if you so desire, for the 2 motorcycles, 2 police cars. They can come up for further review if we want, or if we want to do it tonight, we can also.
Could I ask the staff maybe to give us their views on this?
Well, I'll give you my biased views. I think the chief made a compelling argument in difficult economic times with 10-year-old motorcycles that are so far out of warranty and they continue to degrade in trade-in value that there's and we have police cars at 92,000 miles, 100,000 miles. They're effectively spent. I don't think that rebuilding an engine necessarily is the way to go. And my fear is that I would prefer to bite the bullet and get us on a regular and routine turnover schedule, budget for it, maintain them in that, get the best we can, optimize the trade-in value, and then keep our equipment in the best functioning order with the lowest overall maintenance costs, as opposed to going back and buying 10-year-old motorcycle parts. And I'm very much in support of the chief's idea of putting another motor officer out. So I realize this is a financial decision on council's part, and maybe they haven't had enough time to review it, but I think it's how we get into building maintenance problems and other problems, and we keep stuff too long. And that's just my bias.
Well, it's a pretty simple item. I mean, if we want to approve it tonight, I don't think there's much discussion. The chief wants two new motorcycles and 2 new police cars, because he feels they're absolutely necessary, and he did make a good argument, finance committee, that he really needed those, and we argued several times about them. So my belief is if the council wanted to, we could approve those tonight. If not, they can come up for another session.
I just have a quick question. Do we have officers to use those? Would they just be put in the garage and wait for until we hire new officers, or would they be put into use immediately?
No, we'll put them into use immediately. In fact, we have officers, we have a reserve officer, and we will have another motor officer along with Tim Marks, which they'll be riding those, and we'll double our coverage with the traffic enforcement by having the new motors. And remember, they are replacement motors for the old aged motors that we're trying to cycle out.
Mr. Mayor, you had a good question. I think we need to remember, budgeting for it doesn't mean it gets them. It still has to come back with approval for the individual items. This just puts it in the budget so you can see where it fits in terms of cash going in and out. But you could approve it tonight, that's correct.
I'd like to make it an amendment to the motion to strike the qualification from the motion.
And approve the budget.
And approve the budget
I
as
second
presented.
I'll second that. All in favor?
I'll say aye.
Bill?
I made my motion.
Okay, well, it's passed.
Now we have to vote on the main motion now as it's been amended.
All right, I'll vote with the main motion. I will move that we approve the resolution adopting the revised fiscal year operating.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Same vote?
No, okay, it's passed on a 3-to-1 vote. Is there any other business? If not, I'll entertain a motion to.
Oh, wait.
You want future
No,
agendas?
yeah, and there's a council report. Can I just make a quick council report?
Sure.
Before future. So, I wanted to actually make this, announcement in public comment periods because, I wanted more people to be here, to let you know that, the Town Center Task Force is, emailing to the residents, on a very grassroots way at no cost to the town, the announcement of a meeting on October 12th. Is being termed as a conceptual design competition between 2 award-winning architectural firms who are providing conceptual designs for the proposed new town center at no cost to us, pro bono. And this is kind of a historical event because they've not participated in things like that before. Atherton, to my knowledge, has never had architects come up with, just conceptual designs. This is not a design that is in any way, shape, or form meant to be what the proposed new town center is, would be or could look like. It's just conceptual designs, how we can use our property. So I have flyers, a question and answer sheet, as well as the announcement letter that I wanted to give out because we're doing this on a no budget way. So we're emailing it. We've got volunteers that are going to be mailing it themselves or hand walking it around to get the word out. So we just wanted to ask the public to try to get the word out also.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any future agenda items?
I do, if it's appropriate. Two items I think that I feel more comfortable, especially at council's urging, is taking a look at maybe it's time to redo some of our fee structures so we can get cost recovery in areas that are direct. It was brought up earlier this evening, we're really shooting for getting 80% cost recovery for our ARPAs, but we don't have the fee structures in place to do that.
Okay.
So we probably need to take a look at a fee study and get authorization from council to proceed on that. Secondly, I'd like to bring up the 2012 wedding season. now that we have the ability to make money off of that, is it appropriate, is the timing right to reopen the season or not? And I agree with Councilmember Lewis, I think that should be a council policy decision, not a staff decision. And whether or not you want to place size restrictions on, for parking and all that sort of thing. And then I would ask the subcommittee on trash, they may consider wanting to make a presentation on all the work that they've done prior to the November public hearing on rates that we'll be posting shortly. And I'm going to put that up probably next week, and it's going to have numbers in it. So the numbers are going to be high because we can't go higher, but we can go lower. So I think.
We're meeting on Monday to.
Oh, I understand that, but I'm saying that at the next meeting, you may want to consider making a report on your findings outside of the rate hearing.
Right.
And then the next month we do our rate hearings, and then it'll be sometime in January before those rates will take effect if you make changes to it. I'm just saying.
So we need to vote on those future agenda items that we accept.
Or just give me consensus direction, is fine, if that's acceptable to everybody.
Yes,
That's
I agree with
acceptable
that.
to me.
Okay,
Agree
well,
with
good,
that.
thank you.
Okay, now we come to the last item, which is the adjournment.
Yeah, you have a chance now for public comments.
Yeah.
There's one more public comment.
Yeah, I just wanted to make one comment about the arborist. One of the things that's been really lovely through the last, 12, 14 years that I've lived in this town is that when I've had a question about a tree or protecting a tree and so on, I've been able to pick up the phone and call Kathy and say, hey Kathy, what do you think about this, and so on. Now, granted, all along the way with all my construction projects and so on, I have hired outside arborists to, write arborist report and to come in and also, but many, many times, even when I was hiring somebody else, I would get Kathy's buy-in or feedback first because I really trusted her. I think if you're talking about now kind of imposing an additional fee for people who are using the city arborist, I have a feeling like that's not, to me, that's not, I guess that's not protecting our city trees. That's kind of like saying, okay, now I've got to pay the arborist that I'm having to give me the recommendation, and I'm having to pay the city arborist. So actually, I'm not going to call the arborist at all in the city. I'm going to just do my project. I mean, that's what's going to happen. So I think that it's nice to have the benefit of having someone that's kind of on the tree side from the city, rather than just someone who's saying, okay, yeah, you can get by with saving that tree or not cutting that one or whatever, based on what the homeowner is doing. So I'd be just cautious when you're coming up with your fee structures to try to remember the trees and provide that service. Thank you.
I'll other council on that policy decision.
Good point. Well, just as a comment on that, I've always felt that I
I'm
can't.
sorry,
Oh,
cannot do that. Not on the agenda.
Okay,
thank you.
any other public comments? Seeing none, may I have a motion to adjourn? So moved. All in favor?
Aye. Do you want to say?
Aye.
Oh, thank you.
I wasn't done.
You were done.
I wasn't done.
Mayor, council, we have this question from the council paper, was this in here? I think that's why it's
That's all right.
Oh, I
No, I thought it was. Well, there's 4 copies, you can
Could ask the residents, would you prefer to use my before the 4th Some people don't like to send me your comments.
Yeah, why don't I do it?
And because it says, you resign if you didn't, right? You can't resign if you haven't been appointed.
That's the whole point of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the whole point of October.
I'm resigning, I took money.
Consideration, you can't, it's like, it's really.
It's a contract.
You know, actually, like some of the folks that maybe aren't the most employable folks in the world, they would be much better off than
They was reading.
they thought they're shaking it too.
Exactly.
I'm gonna jump in the car and I'm gonna grab the full suit. I wanna get the full suit, it's gonna start.
Yeah.
Good meeting, Jim.
Yeah, whenever you're ready. All right, on your.
How are you tonight?
You can have, you can have. Then why don't you look at it?